Welcome to Worcester Speaks Out. Today we have a very special guest in our studio from the Mbb Benison Foundation. Say hello to Katie Benison Camell. Did I say that right?
That's right. Yeah.
One of those three name people.
That's right.
All right. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you here on the show today.
Thank you.
Also, Javad Golji is here. Did I say that right?
You said that right, and I'm happy to be here.
You guys threw me a curveball with these names, but I managed to get through it. All right. And also Javad's wife, Kristina, is here, and we'll be speaking to her in just a few minutes. We wanted to meet with you guys and get the word out about the Mbb Benison Foundation. Mary Beth was
my sister.
Your sister. And she passed in
May of 2015.
May of 2015. She has a great story. And we wanted to share that story, her story, with our audience because we know that it's relatable to a lot of people in the ALS world. First off, tell us, what is ALS? That's Lou Gehrig's disease, right?
Correct.
So he, a baseball player from many years ago, I don't want to say he put it on the map, but he made it nationally known, which is something that a lot of diseases need to reach that point for stuff to happen. So tell us, what is ALS?
It's a motor neuron disease that actually, hold on a second.
That's okay.
All right. Do you want to talk about that?
No.
All right, because I feel like I'm... All right.
Yeah, no, I'll share Kristina's story.
Okay. I gotta look at I get nervous, so I'm sorry that I'm...
That's okay.
The last time that they did an interview with me, they went on about what ALS was, so I didn't have to go over that piece, but I get like...
You get nervous.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's see. I'm just trying to think.
I mean, I could ask Javad if I need to.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I can do it. I'm just like I said.
Do you want to look at the notes that I have here?
That I sent you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Okay. All right. It's ALS is a motor neuron disease. It's a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects the nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. And then eventually the motor neurons die and the ability for the brain to initiate the control and muscle movement is lost. And with that, people are affected and they lose their ability to speak, eat, move, and breathe.
It's is it a hereditary disease?
Well, there's two different kinds. There's familial and sporadic, but
okay.
It's you could speak to that. Maybe
Javad could probably tell us more about it.
Yeah.
Must be more sporadic.
Right.
Yeah, it is both familial and sporadic. I think in Kristina's case, this is a sporadic case of ALS, but for some people it's familial, and I think, again, most people are going to be sporadic, but there are know, a minority of people it's familial, and they can know that that's going to happen.
How do you know? How do you know you have ALS? I mean, does it start slowly? Is it a progressive disease? How do you like, hey, I need to get checked and something's not right here?
Maybe I can share with Kristina's case how we kind of arrived at knowing that she had ALS. I think to start with, Kristina's speech started being impeded in that she was speaking more nasal than she normally would. And actually, I think at first Kristina's thinking was there's something wrong with my nose. And we actually went to an ENT doctor and I think we had a small surgery because he had identified that maybe there was, something wrong in the nasal passageway, but that didn't fix it. But I think that combined with, in her case, some loss of finger dexterity kind of led us to see a neurologist, and they ran a lot of tests. And I think that's where kind of seeing that there was the motor neurons were not behaving the way they should, and the tests were kind of pointing towards that this was an ALS disease.
Is there like an age that this disease affects people? Is it later in life or is it earlier? My impression is that it is later in life, but I'm looking at Kristina, and you're very young and beautiful. No offense, Javad. I know she's your wife, but so it's not just an older person's disease that comes with time.
Yeah, normally ALS affects people over the age of 40.
Over 40.
And I think the average age is 50 or 55.
Okay.
However, it can, the onset can occur at any age. So I was on the young side. I was 31 when I was diagnosed.
Wow, 31. So what do the doctors say when, after you learn that Kristina has ALS? What is the treatment? What is the plan? What is the attack? I know you put together a team. You have a team of caregivers. You have a team of doctors. As far as I know, there is no cure for ALS. So how do you treat this going forward?
I think the first message that the neurologist kind of wanted to make sure we get when we got the ALS diagnosis was the fact that there is no cure. And I think the strategy is to slow down the progression of ALS.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that the control of the motor neurons and the muscles is going to slowly disappear, and the strategy is to just slow that down so we can enjoy life as much as we can.
I read that the cost to take care of someone with ALS is well over $200,000 a year. Where do you go to get some help with that? Because not everybody's got that at their disposal. And where do you turn when, do you raise your hand and say, hey, we have insurance, but that doesn't cover everything. We're going to need some help here. Where do you go?
I mean, that's really where foundations like this come into play. I think where we can, between what insurance can pay for, what we can pay for ourselves, what our friends and family can pay for, but really, to a large extent, it's organizations from the community that also contribute, that really make it feasible.
The Ice Bucket Challenge, that really brought a focus to ALS because everybody and their brother was doing it, and it raised millions of dollars. But I know Mary Beth had her own way of addressing her illness. Tell us more about Mary Beth. First of all, just tell us about her in general.
Okay. Yeah, well...
she was your sister.
She was my sister. She was the oldest of 7 kids. She grew up in Worcester, went to Assumption College. She, in 1999, was diagnosed with a brain tumor and underwent a major surgery for that, had to learn to walk, talk, and eat again as a result of the surgery from the brain tumor. She had partial paralysis down her face and throat. But that was in October of 99, but by February she was back to work and had worked hard to recover. And but then in 2004 she was diagnosed with breast cancer. At the time she underwent radiation and chemotherapy and had a lumpectomy. At that point she decided, okay, I'm going to pursue some of the things I have dreamt about, and she loved to bake, so she became a certified pastry chef and pursued that dream. She also continued to deal with an autoimmune disease that would attack her hearing periodically. She had already lost her hearing in her right ear, but this would flare up and attack the hearing in her left ear. So she continued to kind of struggle with different challenges, but in 2010, after she was laid off from her job of over 20 years, she decided she was going to open up a bakery in Northborough called Cocoa Benny Confections. So she did that on October 1st of 2011. So she pursued that dream. And then in June of 2014, she was diagnosed with mesothelioma, which is a terminal form of lung cancer. And shortly thereafter, she was also told that she had ALS. And for her experience, she had had symptoms kind of flare up. In hindsight, I would say they were about a year or two prior to her diagnosis. She would have cramps in her arms and legs. And they, at the time, the doctors, I think, thought it was like neuropathy or related to the chemotherapy or radiation treatment that she had for the breast cancer. But things just sort of continued to get worse. Her left foot started to drop. And so she underwent like EMG testing multiple times for them to try to determine what was going on. And it wasn't until in August of 2014, she was going in for a major surgery at Brigham and Women's for the mesothelioma. And right around that time, they said, well, we think you may also have ALS. So she did go through with that surgery. That itself was a very major surgery. And, she was determined at that time. She would say, all I want is like 10 more years. That's all I would like. And I believe she would have had that if not for the ALS. 'Cause
If anybody needed to catch a break, it was her.
Right.
It seems like one thing after another, after another, after another. But you know what? It sounds like she never stopped pursuing her dream.
Right. She didn't. And
She always had hope.
She did. She did. She was, she would have good days and bad days like anybody else. But, I mean, that was one of the things that she was, she was my oldest sister. And so I feel like I would joke with my other siblings and say, like, I never fought with Mary Beth, but the rest of you,
Mm-hmm.
But she just, for all of us, all of my siblings, my mother, my dad, he passed away in 2000, but, she was just always very supportive and encouraging to all of us. And really, when she was going through this, she would often say how grateful she was for the support that she had from family and friends. And she would say, I would love to be able to help people who may not have that support system.
And when you or your siblings or anybody you knew or know was having a bad day, you could just bring it up.
Right.
And say, hey, you know what? You think you're having a bad day? This is a bad day.
Right.
This is my sister, and this is what she's gone through year after year after year.
Right.
And, they say hope is the best medicine. And it's great that her support team around her was there for her during those bad days. But it really was her who, or she, who kept going, kept pursuing her dream. She opened the bakery. She wanted to do stuff. When was the, after she passed, I'm sure, when was the foundation started, and who started that?
I did. I established it in 2016. We had our kickoff event in October of 2016. And the reason that I did it was because prior to her passing away, a group of her friends from high school set up a fundraiser that was scheduled to be in May of 2015. And Mary Beth ended up just sort of, rapidly declining in April and unfortunately passed away the day after the fundraiser. The fundraiser was May 2nd. And so the money that was raised, there was about $7,000 that the people raised for her. And so we decided that we would use that to try to help other people. And so from there, I decided to establish the foundation to provide financial assistance to ALS patients and their families.
How are patients considered for those funds? If
anybody contacts me, they just submit a grant request form, and whatever they might need, then we're happy to help. So,
how did they contact you?
They can go to the website, and the grant request forms are on the website, which is www.mbbloves.org. Or they can email me at mbbfoundation@gmail.com.
Talk about the grants that are available.
Yep, we provide grants to help pay for medical services or medical equipment or home health services. We would pay for household bills, like we've helped pay somebody's mortgage or rent, their oil, electric bill. We've contributed towards the cost of a wheelchair van. We've contributed towards the cost of installation of a wheelchair ramp. We've contributed towards the cost of family vacations and different things like that.
So if ALS is affecting you and there's a need, any need that you may have, go to the website and make sure you fill out a form so you can be considered for help.
Right.
Tell us about your nephew, Matthew.
So Matthew is my sister Erin's son. And the day after Mary Beth passed away, he became very ill at school. He was 12 years old at the time. And it turned out he was experiencing heart failure, and he was rushed to Boston Children's Hospital and ended up staying in Children's Hospital for over a month. And so it was just, as you can imagine, we were at the funeral home going to plan the services, and Erin, my sister Erin, got the call, and she had to obviously run down to Boston. It just was like that Saturday, like 2 days prior, he had been at Foley Stadium in Worcester with the ALS walk and running laps. So it was just out of nowhere.
How is he now?
He's doing okay now. He he's a sophomore in high school. They live in Attleboro, but he still has to be monitored and go to the doctors quite often, and will potentially have to have some further treatments down the road.
You support ALS TDI in their work to find a cure for ALS. What is TDI?
ALS TDI is ALS Therapy Development Institute. Well, actually, if I could, I've just to mention about the story with Matthew. I forgot to just say that one of the things that the foundation does in honor of Matthew is we provide binkies for comfort to children in the pediatric cardiac ICU at Boston Children's Hospital on a monthly basis. This is the second year that we do this, and I decided to do that because Mary Beth was very close to her nieces and nephews. She had a close relationship with Matthew, and I know she would have been heartbroken to know that what he went through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that the foundation does.
If anybody doesn't know what a binky is, it is a pacifier, right?
Well, no, this is a blanket.
Oh, this is a blanket.
Yeah, they call them binkies. It's with K-E-Z-Z, binkies. Yeah, okay. So she makes these blankets.
I thought it was a pacifier because a certain person in this room's nickname is and was Binky.
Oh, that's good to know.
Because of he couldn't get rid of that pacifier. So now it's turned into blankets. That's a good
blankets,
thing.
Yes,
right?
it's out of Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
Sue Postero, she is the founder of Binkies for Comfort.
Binkies for Comfort. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's get Kristina in here once again. Kristina, you have what sounds like a wonderful support team around you with Javad, and also Katie's foundation is there to help you as well.
Right.
How do you show gratitude for somebody, strangers, right? At first onset, it's strangers. She doesn't know you. You don't know her, and she comes to you and in need of support, in need of help, in need of advice. How do you show gratitude to someone like that?
Well, words are definitely not enough. I think Javad and I both try to kind of help continue the work by spreading the word. So on Facebook or on my blog, kind of putting the word out there about Mbb Benison Foundation and other organizations that help us from within the community. The more people know and are aware that this is a really concrete way they can help me and my family and help continue Katie's work. I think it can be harder when you're donating to a huge organization and where it's less personal, but this is a situation where I can tell friends in the Worcester area in Massachusetts, hey, these are the organizations that are actually coming out to my house and helping me from within our local community.
I can, by the way, I understood every word you said. Okay. Your thought process is there. It's just that connector between your thoughts and your speech that is affected. And that blows me away. And I can't imagine what that feels like, to have thoughts in your head, to be able to construct them, to put them together. But when you try to transfer them from your brain to your voice, there's where that connection is off. And I'm sure there's lots of research that's going on, that still continues to go on, to find a cure for ALS or to find a prevention. I mean, there's a lot of gene therapy that's going on, gene replacements that's happening that I hear a lot about, where they're able to take a gene, maybe it's the gene that causes ALS, and take it out of your DNA so that you don't develop the disease later in life. And they're doing it with diabetes, and they're researching it for other diseases. So hopefully we get closer and closer, and even if it's a small thing that's going to change your life, I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. And I do think we mentioned ALS TDI. They do really great research for ALS. It's very collaborative with researchers around the country and the globe coming together.
Yep.
So the fact that the Mbb Benison Foundation, is also supporting that research angle is really great.
That's great.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, that's we do the skate off ALS hockey game, which we've had the last few years, and we donate a portion of the proceeds to ALS TDI to support their research for a cure.
Say the website one more time, how people can get in touch with the Mbb Benison Foundation.
www.
You don't have to say www.
Right, I didn't know if I did.
Nobody says that anymore.
Right. It's mbbloves.org.
And why is it named Mbb Loves?
Because when I think of Mary Beth, I think of love, the love that she gave to my family and I, to my children, to my siblings and my parents, and her family and friends. And, a perfect example of Mary Beth is she had her mesothelioma surgery on August 6th of 2014, which was my birthday. And I was on vacation at the time with my family, and she was in the hospital the day before, and we talked in the morning on the 5th. But then about 8 o'clock that night, when she was in the hospital, scheduled to have her surgery the next day, she called me and left me a voicemail that I still have. And she just, called me to wish me a happy birthday. I mean, here she is, she's in the hospital, and just told me, that everything was going to go great, just reassuring me that everything would be fine and she was going to knock it out of the park. Those were her words exactly. So
wow.
So that's just, an example of who she was.
It's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to have. And when you lose someone, you reach for the phone to call them. You think about them all the time.
Yeah.
You try to keep their memory alive. And what you've done with this foundation is just that.
Right. And I will say, it's funny you say that, but I do. I have moments where I'm like, oh, I need to call Mary Beth. So it does. It happens a lot. And, she just really, another example of who she was when, she was in the hospital and the doctors told her it was, time to consider going on hospice. There was a day that about probably 30 or 40 family and friends came up to the hospital to see her. And when you would go into her room, she was either playing the song Always Look on the Bright Side of Life or Lovely Day. So that's just kind of gives you an example of who she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the Mary Beth Benison Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It is there for anyone here in Worcester County?
Correct. So to date, we've provided 41 grants, over $36,000 worth of grants to 41 patients and families. We helped Kristina's family with the installation of a wheelchair ramp. And we also, is it okay to say that we also provided some back-to-school clothing for her children? And we've helped people in Massachusetts. Primarily, that's our focus, but we also have helped people in Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and various other states.
When you lose a revenue stream in your family, it really has an impact. If Kristina was working and then all of a sudden she can't work anymore, that takes the family income down. And it was great for you to provide some assistance, like back to school clothes and backpacks and lunch boxes and fancy shoes and all that kind of stuff. So congratulations to you. Javad, tell me how grateful you are to the Mary Beth Benison Foundation.
Well, I think I want to share, I guess, one story that really captures the impact here. We have 3 kids. The youngest one, Reza, he loves to run around. He loves to run around outside, basically. Even if it's raining, he feels like he should be out in the rain. So normally, I'm the one that's taking him outside and running down. We have a relatively long road, running down the road with him, just letting him enjoy himself. And I think usually Kristina ends up watching that from the window because it's hard for her to get down the stairs and come out. But I think since we had the ramp put in place, Kristina's been able to kind of use her power wheelchair to kind of follow Reza and come outside with us. And there's been a couple times where Reza's kind of paused and looked back and kind of had a big smile on his face that his mom is there with him.
Yep.
And I think that smile kind of captures the impact that really the fact that we can continue to enjoy life and enjoy the quality of life is something that's been enabled by the support that we had here.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Kristina. I wish you nothing but the best. Javad, thank you very much for coming in and sharing your story with us. And Katie, what can I say? A tragedy turns into something that helps others, and that's all we can ask for. Anything tragic that happens in our lives, if we can find a way to turn a negative into a positive and help others, that's great. And congratulations to you and what you've done with your sister Mary Beth's foundation.
Thank you. And I just would like to say, too, that everything I do, I do on a volunteer basis. So any of the proceeds that we raise are able to go to the patients and families.
And I understand you guys have a 5K run, walk. Can you run it, walk it?
Right. You can do either or, run or walk. And we also have a kids fun run, which is inside the park. So that's for kids ages 13 and under.
And when is this happening?
It's Sunday, October 14th at DCR Lake Park in Worcester.
Okay. And do you need to sign up?
You can sign up online. There's a link on our website or on our Facebook page. It's the mbbf5k.racewire.com is the direct link. Mm-hmm. Or you can sign up the day of. The registration opens at 8:30.
Let me just say it one more time. It's mbbloves.org. That's website. M like Mary, B like Beth, B like Benison, loves, LOVES.org.
Right.
Any what else is going to be going on at this walk?
We're going to have face painting and games, music. Cupcakes are being donated from Darby's Bakery, cookies from Wicked Good Cookies. Lots of fun things for the kids. Let's see, I'm trying to think. We have a lot of great sponsors, too, that I'd like to thank. My sister Megan, her business, Benison Financial, is our platinum sponsor. Central One Federal Credit Union, Sneakerama, Worcester Restaurant Group, Kill the Ball Media. They're all gold sponsors. We have various sponsors, but those have given us support year after year, so we're very grateful.
Well, good luck. It sounds like a great event. I hope
you.
the weather is cooperative for you.
Thank you, me too.
Congratulations on all you do for everyone around you that reaches out to mbbloves.org.
Thank you.
This is Worcester Speaks Out.